Our inventory that we are going to sell will be an asset because it is something that we purchased. So there was a past event and the inventory is under our control. When we sell the inventory, we will receive an economic benefit in the form of cash. Cash in our cash box will also be an asset, and once we deposit the cash, it will be the cash in our bank account. Any equipment, for example our cash box, or tables and banners will also be assets. If we decided to expand our business, we might later on buy a delivery scooter to deliver some of our products to customers further away from the school. Every asset will be recorded in our books, showing the value of what the business owns. You can remember assets by telling yourself that is the awesome stuff you own within your business. What is a liability? A liability is a present obligation of the entity to transfer an economic resource as a result of past events. Liabilities are the amounts the business owes to others. You can think of it as later payment. If you borrow money from a family member or from the bank, that would be a liability. If you buy goods but haven't paid for them yet, that's a liability called creditors. It is important to track what you owe because it reduces what actually belongs to you. Any liability will have to be repaid in future. Therefore, you need to put some money aside in order to settle your obligations. Equity refers to the amount that the owner invested in the entity and is made up mainly of capital. It is an indication of the assets that belong to the owner and is referred to as the owner's net worth. If you use your savings to start up, that's equity. Profits earned also increases equity because they belong to the owner. By now, you should also have learned that your profit is your income less your expenses. So income increases equity and expenses decreases equity. As owner of the business, you can also withdraw money from the business for your own personal use. Drawings also decreases equity. So any capital contribution that you make to the business will increase equity. Any drawings you make will decrease equity, and your profit that you make will increase equity. The value of the business is really what belongs to the owner after you subtract liabilities. This is why the accounting equation is so important. It always keeps the balance between what you have, what you owe, and what is yours. Everything you do in accounting affects at least two accounts. This is called double entry. So, for every transaction we ask, what accounts are affected? Are they classified as assets, liabilities, or equity? And does the account increase or decrease? Our accounting equation can be expressed as assets equals equity plus liabilities. So let's have a quick look. Assets will always increase on the debit side and decrease on the credit side. equity will decrease on the debit side and increase on the credit side. Our liabilities will decrease on the debit side and increase on the credit side. These rules are something that you need to memorize. The first thing we will need is capital to start our business. You have saved some cash and now you deposit 1,000 Rand cash into a bank account as a capital contribution to start your business. So first we need to have a look at what accounts are affected by this transaction. So since we paid cash into a bank account, our bank account will be affected. Secondly, we made a capital contribution. Contributing capital means that our equity will be affected. Step 2. Do these accounts fall under assets, liabilities, or equity? Cash is an asset, and our capital is equity. So step 3. Our cash that we deposited into the bank account means that our bank account balance will increase with 1,000 Rand. And since we made a capital contribution, our equity will also increase with 1,000 Rand. If we now record this transaction on our accounting equation, we will indicate that our bank account will be debited, our capital account will be credited, assets will increase by 1,000 Rand, equity will increase by 1,000 Rand, and liabilities will not be affected at all. So assets equals equity plus liabilities. 1,000 Rand equals 1,000 Rand. Did you know that a capital contribution does not need to be cash? You can also, for example, contribute by giving the business some inventory, or maybe the cash box or a table. You can also pay an expense on behalf of the business as capital contribution, or even repay one of the loans as a capital contribution. We also mentioned earlier that obtaining a loan can provide you with further funding when you start your business. So, if we now borrowed 1,500 Rand from a parent or a guardian, what accounts are affected by this transaction? Firstly, it will be our bank account if they deposit the money into our bank account. Secondly, it will be a loan account. Step 2. Do these accounts fall under assets, liabilities, or equity? We have already established that our bank account is an asset. And when we owe money to somebody, it is a liability. Therefore, the loan account will be classified under liabilities. Step 3. Does this transaction increase or decrease assets, liabilities, or equity? Our assets will increase with the 1,500 Rand that was deposited into our bank account. And our liabilities will increase with 1,500 Rand since we now owe more money. So let's record this on our accounting equation. Under account debited, we will have bank. Under account credited, we will have our loan account. Under assets, we will have an increase of 1,500 Rand. And under liabilities, we will have an increase of 1,500 Rand. Under equity, we will indicate that we have a zero change. If we now look at our accounting equation, assets will be equal to our equity plus liabilities. 1,500 Rand will be equal to 1,500 rand. Next, we need to secure our space at school by renting a stall. So we pay 100 rand with a debit card for the rent of the stall. What accounts are affected by this transaction? So firstly, our bank account, because we are paying money from our bank account. Second account will be rent. Step 2. Do these accounts fall under assets, liabilities, or equity? Our bank account falls under assets, and our rent will be an expense. Therefore, it will fall under equity. Step 3. Does this transaction increase or decrease assets, liabilities, or equity? So since we paid money from our bank account will decrease, and expenses decreases equity. If we now record this transaction on our accounting equation, our account debited will be rent, and our account credited will be bank. Our assets will decrease by 100 rand, and our equity will also decrease by 100 rand. So our accounting equation will still balance because our assets are still equal to equity plus liabilities. We also need to advertise. Pay 200 rand with a debit card for the printing of A4 posters advertising the stall. What accounts are affected by this transaction? Firstly, our bank account, because we paid 200 rand with our debit card. Secondly, it will be advertising, because that is what we paid for. Do these accounts fall under assets, liabilities, or equity? Our bank account falls under assets, and advertising is an expense. Therefore, it will fall under equity. Does this transaction increase or decrease assets, liabilities, or equity? So, since we paid money from our bank account, our assets will decrease, and advertising as an expense will decrease our equity. So, if we now record this on our accounting equation, our account debited will be advertising, our account credited will be bank, and assets will decrease by 200 rand, and equity will decrease by 200 rand, and there will be no effect on our liabilities. And if we look at the accounting equation, it will still balance because our assets are equal to our equity plus our liabilities. Minus 200 rand is equal to minus 200 rand. We will need inventory. Buy inventory from a local grocery store and pay 2,200 rand with a debit card. What accounts are affected by this transaction? Firstly, it will be our bank account since we paid money with our debit card from our bank account. And secondly, it will be inventory since that is what we purchased. Do these accounts fall under assets, liabilities, or equity? Both the bank account and our inventory will fall under assets. Does this transaction increase or decrease our assets, liabilities, or equity? So we purchased inventory, which means our inventory will increase. We paid money from our bank account, which means our assets will decrease. So under assets, we will have an increase and we will have a decrease. Let's record this on our accounting equation. Our account debited will be inventory since assets increase on the debit side, and our account credited will be bank since assets decrease on the credit side. And under assets, we will indicate an increase of 2,200 rand for our inventory, and we will indicate a decrease minus 2,200 Rand for our bank account. And our accounting equation is still in balance because our assets will be indicated as a total movement of 0, equity as a 0, and liabilities as a 0. So, still in balance. And finally, we have now opened our business and we are going to sell our inventory. On our opening day, we sold all our inventory and we received 3,300 Rand cash. We deposited the full amount into our bank account. So, what accounts are affected by this transaction? Firstly, it will be our bank account because we deposited the cash into our bank account. And secondly, it will be our sales account. Do these accounts fall under assets, liabilities, or equity? So, our bank account falls under assets. And sales is an income account. And income increases equity, therefore sales will fall under equity. Does this transaction increase or decrease assets, liabilities, or equity? So our assets will increase with 3,300 Rand because we deposited money into our bank account. Our liabilities will not be affected, and our equity will increase with 3,300 Rand because income increases equity. So let's record this transaction on our accounting equation. Our account debited will be bank since our assets increase, and our account credited will be sales since our equity increases. Our assets will be indicated with a plus 3,300 Rand, and under equity we will indicate a plus 3,300 Rand since we sold goods and that increases equity. And if we now look at our accounting equation, our assets are still equal to our equity plus liabilities. Okay, so when we sold inventory, we also need to indicate what the inventory cost us before we sold it in order to calculate our profit. So we will need to remove the cost of the inventory that we sold from our inventory account into an expense account called cost of sales. The inventory we purchased cost 2,200 Rand, and since we sold all inventory, we can now move the full 2,200 Rand into our cost of sales account. That will enable us to calculate the gross profit our business made by saying sales less the cost of sales, and that will give us our gross profit. So, what accounts are affected by this transaction? Firstly, it will be our inventory account, and secondly, it will be our cost of sales account. Do these accounts fall under assets, liabilities, or equity? So our inventory will fall under assets, and cost of sales is an expense and will fall under equity. Does this transaction increase or decrease our assets, liabilities, or equity? So our inventory as asset account will decrease because we no longer have any inventory in stock, and our equity will decrease because cost of sales is an expense. Okay, so let's record this on our accounting equation. Our account debited will be cost of sales because equity decreases on the debit side and cost of sales as an expense decreases equity. And inventory as an asset account also decreases and assets decrease on the credit side. So under assets, we will have minus 2,200 Rand, and under equity, we will have minus 2,200 Rand. Therefore, our accounting equation is still in balance. Now, after we made some profit from our business, we can repay a part of our loan. So if we now repay 500 Rand of the loan with an electronic funds transfer, what accounts are affected by this transaction? Firstly, it will be our bank account because we are paying money from our bank account. And secondly, it will be our loan account. Do these accounts fall under assets, liabilities, or equity? Our bank account falls under assets, and the loan account will fall under liabilities. Does this transaction increase or decrease assets, liabilities, or equity? Our bank account as an asset will decrease. And since we repay the loan, our loan under liabilities will also decrease. Okay, so let's record this transaction on our accounting equation. The account debited will be the loan from our parent or guardian because liabilities decrease on the debit side and the loan account is a liability. Our account credited will be the bank account because bank decreases on the credit side because it is an asset. And under assets, we will have a minus 500 Rand. Equity will not have any changes. And liabilities will decrease by 500 Rand. And if we look at our accounting equation, our assets are still equal to our equity plus our liabilities. Minus 500 Rand equals minus 500 Rand. Okay, just give me a minute. I just want to get everything on all the screens sorted out so that I can run a few polls with you guys tonight. Okay, now this is the question we're going to do. Okay, this one I want here. This screen needs to go there. Okay. Okay, let me share my screen with you and then we can continue. Okay, so tonight we're going to look at this example of the accounting equation. Now, this is typically, for those of you who asked the question on Monday, this is typically what your question types and everything in your assignments and tests and the exam paper will look like and how you should approach answering them. Now, the first thing when you open a question like this, we will always provide you with instructions of some sort. Please read through these instructions because what we had to do is adapt the system in order to assess accounting. So there are certain things that in order to grade your assessments immediately and give you your mark immediately and provide detailed feedback, we need you to comply to this because we cannot go back and mark 3,000 or 4,000 scripts because somebody decided to add a rand sign and then the system doesn't recognize it. So there's a reason why these instructions are there and they will tell you how to answer a specific question. So if we go through those, use a full stop to indicate any decimals. Please use a full stop because the system doesn't recognize a comma as a separator. Please use a full stop. We will tell you how to round if there's any rounding in the question. So here we are told round off to the second decimal after the full stop. This basically means that you will provide your answer in rands and cents. Then a decrease must be indicated by using a negative sign in front of the amount. So if any one of these elements decrease, we will type it as minus and the amount. Next one, an increase must be indicated by the amount without any sign. So if the element increases, we're just going to type in the amount as is. The next one, the amount must be shown without the rand sign. This is very important. The open blocks that you see here is a numeric response. And anything that you type in there that the system doesn't recognize as a number won't be marked. So if, for example, you have rand signs in these blocks, and you try to submit, there will be a message saying that, are you sure that you want to submit your answer because it's incomplete? If ever you get that kind of message, please go back because it means that somewhere in the question type or in the question you typed in something the system doesn't recognize as a number. And if you submit it like that, then one or two of the blocks you might have the correct number, but because you have a rand sign or something else in there, your answer will then be marked incorrect. And as already mentioned, we are not going to go back and then grade those manually. The instructions are there, read them and make sure that you adhere to those. Then if a transaction has been provided and it is not applicable to an element, then please record a 0 in the amount column of that element. If a transaction increases and decreases an element, then please show the net effect in the amount column of that element. So what that means is if the transaction 1, for example, increase an asset with 1,000 rand and decrease it with 800 rand, then you will type in 200 rand in the block for assets. Or if it's a 1,000 rand increase and a 1,000 rand decrease, then you will type in 0 in the asset block. Okay, so let's do the question. Mr. T. Malepe runs a small accounting service business in balance. The entity is not registered as a VAT vendor and maintained a favorable bank balance. The following transactions by in balance took place during February 2025. Okay, the first one, purchased stationery for use in the office from Satoli Stationers on credit for 2,350 Rand. So I'm going to launch a poll and I want you guys to answer my poll, please. Stationery will be classified as assets, equity, or liabilities. Okay, there is 500 students in the class and we currently have 44 responses. Can we please get 100 responses? Those of you who now have questions and raised hands, can I please request that you type your question in the chat box? The lecturers that are here with me are responding to those questions in the chat. Okay, so 63% are saying that stationery is an asset. 28% says it's equity and 6% says it's liabilities. Okay, those of you who are now saying that you cannot complete the poll, if you joined with an external email address or your MyLife address is not verified, then you won't be able to answer the poll because it's only available to internal users. So only students who have a verified MyLife email account and joined through that account will be able to answer the polls. Okay, so now let's look at this. We purchased stationery for use in the office. That means that we went to the store and we bought a pen, and when we arrived at the back at the office, we started writing with this pen. Now, or we purchased some paper to print invoices, and we are sending those invoices to our clients. The paper is also stationery. So the stationery we use in the office is an expense. It's not an asset. An asset is something that you control that you're going to get future economic benefits from. The stationery that we purchased here is part of your costs to operate the business. So the stationery is an expense at this point. If we were at the year end of this business and we said that we counted the inventory and the stationery and the cleaning materials, and on year end we have 2,000 rands worth of stationery still on hand that will be carried forward to the next year because we didn't use it in the current year, then that 2,000 rand will be taken out of the stationery account and transferred to an account called consumables on hand. And that will then be classified as an asset in your statement of financial position. But as it is here, the stationery we purchased is an expense, not an asset. Okay, can everybody just with a thumbs up indicate to me if that is clear that stationery at this point is... Okay, now I've got a couple of hands. Okay. Okay, Benny, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question? Okay. Caitlin, do you want to ask a question? Also not. Okay. So stationery is classified as an expense, so it will decrease our equity. Okay, now, next question. Other payables will be classified as an asset, equity, or liabilities. Now, let's just carefully read through our transaction. We purchased stationery for use in the office on credit. So what does it mean if we purchased the stationery on credit? Where would you then classify other payables? Okay, currently we have about 50 responses. Can we push that up to about 100, please? Okay, we have 2% saying it's an asset, 4% saying that it's equity, and 94% of the class says it's a liability. So going to congratulate the class because you got a distinction for this question. 90% you are correct. Other payables will be classified as a liability. But before we move on to the rest of this, I'm going to run 2 more polls and then we will start completing it on the accounting equation. But let's have a look. There's another poll for you. Bank will be classified as? Okay. Okay, so we've got 82% saying bank is an asset. Now, for this question, that's correct. Reason why you're correct is we said that in balance maintained a favorable bank balance. So in balance had money in the bank account for the entire period, therefore bank is an asset. If you come across a question where we say that they maintained an unfavorable bank balance, then this will change. So just keep that in mind because I'm going to run your next poll now. So if we say that you had a bank overdraft, so an unfavorable bank balance, what would your bank account then be classified as? Assets, equity, or liabilities? Well done. Yes. Bank overdraft is a liability. So please keep it in mind that if you receive a question in an assignment or a test, there's also a practice question on your module site where it is indicated or where we do an accounting equation question with an unfavorable bank balance. So you can just keep that in mind for that question, that the moment it's an unfavorable bank balance, then all the transactions that goes to bank will then go to liabilities and not assets. So the question there from Pam, if the bank is unfavorable, is it still a liability? Yes, if the bank account is unfavorable, that is just a different way of wording it to say that they've got a bank overdraft and they use the bank overdraft. So unfavorable bank balance is the same thing as a bank overdraft. Okay, so now back to our transaction. We purchased the stationery on credit for 2,350 Rand. So will that transaction increase assets with 2,350 Rand, decrease it with 2,350 Rand, increase and decrease it, or will assets not be affected? So if we think back, we had stationery, and we said the stationery falls under equity. We purchased it on credit. That will go to other payables. So other payables will be a liability. So what does that mean for assets? If we've got equity and liability as the two elements for these accounts. Okay, I've got 15% who says it's an increase. 34% says that it's a decrease. I've got 24% that increase and decrease, and 25% that not affected. So I want to ask you guys, we said that stationery is equity, and we said that other payables is a liability. So how does the stationery or the other payables affect our assets? Do you want to change your answers? because we've got equity and we've got liabilities, but we don't have assets. If I go with the majority of the clause, I think I might answer this one incorrectly tonight. Okay, so assets will not be affected. 0. Okay. Everybody happy with the fact that assets are not affected? Can I get thumbs ups? If you're not happy, please post your question in the chat. Antoinette, I see there's students who are asking to be unmuted so that they can ask questions. Can you please unmute them so that we can have some engagement in between, please, as needed?
Oh, no problem. I just unmuted everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
okay,
you.
so the first hand is just a number, 27871088. Do you want to unmute and ask your question? Okay. Timothy, do you want to ask a question?
No, I didn't raise my hand. Is my hand raised?
Yeah, your hand is raised.
Oh my goodness. Okay. No. If you could just elaborate as to, because I thought that the reason why the assets would decrease it because isn't this expense happening on your bank account, and the bank account was referred to as an asset. Am I correct?
No. We said we purchased the stationery on credit, so bank account is not affected. We said stationery is the expense, and we purchased it on credit, so it's a liability.
That's not affected because it's got on credit.
Guys, if I'm going to hear you in my lesson, then I'm going to ask that everybody be muted again, and then we won't do questions in between. So please. Okay. One more hand. Mtali, can you unmute yourself and ask your question? Okay. Then I'm going to continue if you don't want to ask a question. For the rest, we'll get back to questions, but I need to I'm going to run my next poll because otherwise we are going to sit here the whole night. So you're more than welcome to type your questions in the chat as well. Okay, next poll. Equity will increase with 2,350 Rand, decrease with 2,350 Rand, increase and decrease with 2,350 Rand, or not be affected. Okay, there's a question in the chat. How does buying stationery on credit not affect your bank account? Okay, it doesn't affect your bank account because you didn't pay for it. On credit means that you went into the store and they wrote it down as that you owe them the money. You walked out with the stationery, but you have not paid them yet. You will only pay them at a later date. It will only affect your bank account when you go back and then make a payment on that account when you settle it or make a down payment to the store where you purchased the stationery on credit. But your bank account is only affected when money are flowing in or flowing out of your account, which was not the case in transaction 1. Here, we purchased it on credit, so there were no money that physically left our bank account. Okay, so equity, we said the stationery is affecting our equity. and stationery is an expense. So an expense decreases our equity. So 50% of the clause, well done. I'm going to go with your answer, and we're going to say minus 2,350 Rand under equity. Please note that it's a minus because equity is decreasing, so we have to type it in with a minus sign. Okay. So let's do the next poll. Liabilities will increase with, decrease with, increase and decrease with, or not be affected. Okay, you guys are doing extremely well tonight. 84% of the class is saying liabilities will increase. Well done. Give yourselves a pat on the back because you are correct. Our liabilities will increase with 2,350 Rand. So we will type that into the block. Next one. Now we move on to our next transaction. Let's see. Paid imbalances monthly water and electricity of 3,400 Rand with an electronic funds transfer. So the water and electricity, is that an asset, equity, or liabilities? Okay, so water and electricity is an expense. It's a consumable, something that we're going to use in our business. You are not going to store the water or the electricity to sell it to somebody else or just keep it on your premises for later use. It's something that you use immediately in your business operations. So the water and electricity is an expense. Okay, so let's take Sandiswa's hand. You can unmute yourself and ask a question. Okay, Armantus, do you want to unmute yourself and ask a question?
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes.
I just want to understand for future reference. It says on the question that the entity is not registered as a VAT vendor.
Mm-hmm.
Can there be questions where the entity is registered as a VAT vendor, and does that like implicate or get asked in the question further on?
Yeah. We can give you a question where we are saying that it's a VAT vendor, but you will only learn about VAT and how to deal with VAT and VAT vendors in Learning Unit 3. So at this point, you're not dealing with it until we do the class on VAT. So for assignment 1, there won't be any VAT implications. But after the class on VAT was presented, from there onwards in any of your assessments, we can ask this as a VAT question. And then basically the VAT on your income is money that you will owe to the South African Revenue Services. So that will then be indicated as a liability on your accounting equation, whereas the VAT on your expenses and certain assets that you can claim back from the South African Revenue Services is an asset because they will owe the money to you. So that will be indicated as an asset on the accounting equation. But for now, for assignment 1, it's not something that you need to know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next poll. Bank will be classified as. Okay, yes. Bank will be classified as an asset. Well done. So 88% of the class. Well done. Bank is an asset. Okay. P. Saroka, can you unmute yourself and ask your question, please? Okay, is there any of the other people with raised hands that don't currently want to ask a question? Can you just check and lower your hand, please, if that's the case? Okay, next poll. So in our transaction where we paid in balances monthly water and electricity of 3,400 Rand with an electronic funds transfer, assets will increase with 3,400, increase and decrease or not be affected. So if you think about this one, when you pay money out of your bank account, does the bank account increase or does your bank account decrease? Okay, yes, 86%, well done. Our bank account will decrease. So let's put in minus 3,400 Rand. Okay. Now, Mahoro, do you want to unmute yourself and ask a question? Okay, I'm going to launch the next poll then. Equity will increase with 3,400 Rand, increase and decrease or not be affected. So what did we say about expenses? What does expenses do to our equity? Because we said the water and electricity falls under equity. So what will happen with your equity because water and electricity is an expense? Okay, 67%, now 68% says that it will decrease our equity. That's 100% correct. When you pay an expense, it will decrease your equity. Now, the reason for that is equity is basically what the business is worth for the owner. So if you have a business and you earn income and then you pay expenses, your income less the expenses is what will be yours at the end of the day. So the profit that you made would be what is yours as an owner, which basically is what equity is. So an expense decreases what you will have left as an owner. So by paying an expense, there's less money left within the business for you. And if you increase your income, it means that your equity will increase because then there's more money available for you as an owner. Okay, so our equity will decrease by 3,400 Rand. Okay, so well done, guys. Up to this point, I think we are happy. And our liabilities will not be affected this round. because we already have our assets and our equity, and our accounting equation is in balance after completing that. So now let's take the next hand. Ziyanda, you can unmute and ask your question. Okay, also don't want to speak to me. Okay, then I'm moving on to my next poll. Transaction 3. Received a direct deposit of 4,300 Rand for accounting services rendered. The fee income will be classified as assets, equity, or liabilities. Okay, what did we say about income? Income increases our equity. The money was deposited into our bank account. So our bank account will be the asset that's affected. But fee income is an income. And where do we classify our income? It's not under assets. Our fee income will fall under equity. So 49% of the clause. Income increases equity. Don't confuse the method of how the money flowed or the transaction was financed with the what happened. The what was you earned fee income. The how that happened was basically the money was deposited into your bank account. So you received cash because you delivered a service. So you've got two things happening here. You have the asset, which is bank, that will be affected, but you also have the income that you earned. The income, the fee income will be equity, but the money that came into the bank account, that will be the asset. Okay. Next hand. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce it. Kira or Sira. You can unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay, not going to speak to me. Then I'm moving on to my next poll. Bank will be classified as okay. 98%. We are almost at 100% of the class passing the question. Well done. Bank account, asset, 100% correct. Okay, next. Moloko, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
My question relates to, I think it's question 1, the stationery one, the stationery being bought on credit.
Yes.
Is it, so our equity decreasing, is that because the stationery was bought on credit? Should it have been bought cash or electronic immediate payments? Would it then increase? Would our equity increase?
No, our equity is decreasing because it's an expense. We paid an expense. That's why equity is decreasing. Don't confuse the method of payment with
Okay.
the income and the expense. Okay, so yeah.
Whether it was bought on credit or not, stationery being bought would decrease our equity.
Yes, unless this was a stationery business and the stationery was held to sell, then stationery would have been inventory and then it wouldn't have gone to stationery but inventory. But in this question, because it was stationery for use in the office, it's an expense that we paid.
Okay, all right.
Okay, happy?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so let's move on to our next poll. I'm going to finish this transaction before I take hands again. Okay, so assets will increase, 4.3, decrease, increase and decrease or not be affected. So our transaction was we received a direct deposit of 4,300 Rand for services rendered. Well done. You guys are getting good at this. 92% says assets increase. Yes, our assets increase because we receive money that was deposited into our bank account. So our bank account that we said was an asset is increasing. So 4,300 Rand goes into our assets. Okay. Well done. I'm super proud of you guys. Let's do the next one, equity. What will happen with equity on this question? We received money for fee income for the services we rendered. So what does the fee income do with our equity? Wow, 95%. Before this evening is done, we are going to have 100% pass rate for this. 4,300 Rand positive into our equity column. And since our accounting equation balances, our assets are equal to our equity. And we know we only had the bank account and we had fee income. None of those affects our liabilities. So we can enter a 0 in our liability column. Okay. Okay. Mr. Nonchalant Aura, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I just want to understand what does it mean if the trial balance does not balance?
Then it means that you credited something that should have been debited or you debited something that should have been credited.
Okay, thank you. But can you clarify it? I still don't understand. Sorry.
Your trial balance has two columns, a debit column and a credit column. The
Yes,
only way it can't balance is if you put something that was in the debit column in the credit column or the other way around. So if you take your left hand and you take your right hand and you've got one orange and one apple in your left hand, then you should have one orange and one apple in your right hand. If you
yes,
put the apple on the one side in your left hand side in your left hand, then it's out of balance. And that's how the
okay.
trial balance works. Every transaction has a debit entry and exactly the same amount goes on into the credit side. So if you don't balance on your trial balance, it means that you either missed a credit or a debit, or you put both on the same side, but you messed up your debits and credits, is the basic story of why a trial balance wouldn't balance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Manganye, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, thank you. I think one of the confusions that I had was when money came in, I can't remember the amount, let's say 3,000 rand.
Mhm.
And on the poll, your question was say, what will the the fee be classified as? So in my mind, I was thinking about the transaction fee. That could be the bank charges or something like that.
Okay. What we said was we received a direct deposit of 4,300 Rand for accounting services rendered. So the wording there, services rendered, means that we received fees for the services that we rendered.
Oh, okay. I think that's clear. And then number 2 was about what makes the bank an asset.
Okay, so what happens is I have 1,000 Rands cash lying around in my house. I take the cash, I go to the bank, and I ask the bank, would you please keep the 1,000 Rand safe? And the bank said, yes, you can open a bank account. We will keep that 1,000 Rand safe and sound for you. Nobody will touch it. But now my 1,000 Rand is at the bank. It's not with me. So the bank owes me 1,000 Rand. So I can go and claim that money from the bank. So that's why it's an asset. That's money that I've got.
Okay.
If
And then
if I now go to Pick n Pay and I spend 2,000 Rand, because I have a bank overdraft. Now my 1,000 Rand is no longer in the bank, and the bank is going to tell me, you spent 1,000 Rand more than what you had. Now suddenly the bank becomes a creditor. They are going to tell me, come and pay your liability. You owe us 1,000 Rand now. Then it's a liability. So it's all about, can I go to the bank and get money from them that is mine? Or are the bank going to come and knock on my door because I need to give them money back? And that's how you determine, is that bank account an asset or is it a liability? If I can go to the bank and say, give me the money, then it's an asset. But if the bank is coming to me and say, you need to repay what you spent more than what you had, then it's a liability.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Sibusiso, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, so I wanted to ask about prepaid expenses. How do we manage prepaid expenses?
Okay. Can I answer you to say you will deal with that later? Okay,
Okay, and
no, I'm joking. I'll answer you. Don't worry. Okay, so prepaid expense basically means that I went to whoever. Let's take an easy one. Water and electricity. If I have a prepaid meter and I prepay my electricity, that means that I paid for something that I haven't used yet. So I have paid more than what I should have. So come year end, I might have already purchased my electricity. Let's say the year end is 31 December. I might have already purchased on the 31st December my prepaid electricity for January. Now, in my financial statements, that money went out of my bank account, so it's no longer in my bank account. So my bank account will reflect that I actually paid for the electricity of January. But I cannot put that prepaid electricity in my income or statement of comprehensive income, because that was not part of this financial year. I didn't use that electricity. It's paid for the next year. It's January's. So then you will remove, let's say we purchased 500 Rands worth of prepaid electricity. That 500 Rand will then not be indicated as an expense in your financial statements. That will be indicated as a prepaid expense. And a prepaid expense is an asset because you're either going to use that electricity next year, or you can go back to the company and say, I want my 500 Rand back, please. So that's basically a prepaid expense. But now I hope I didn't confuse you.
No, I understand. My second question is in terms of marking, can we expect to get our marks deducted if we make certain mistakes?
On the way we do it, it's either correct or it's incorrect.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So say, for example, on a quiz like what we're busy with now, if, for example, I type under equity a minus 4,300 there, where it's supposed to be a positive 4,300 Rand, then I'll get 0 for that portion of this question. Okay, happy?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Chetsa, Chantal?
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
So ma'am, I just have two questions with regards to equity as well as liabilities. I just want to confirm, so with equity, that essentially the income as well as the expenses. If we keep it that way, then we'll be able to answer any questions relating to that, right?
Yeah, but equity is a bit more than just income and expenses.
Okay, okay.
Equity also consists out of capital contributions made by the owner.
Okay.
And if the owner withdraws money for his own personal use, that will also fall under equity.
Okay.
Okay.
And then with the liabilities, is that mostly expenses that are long term, or like debt that is long term? So maybe your bank loans or things like that. Where exactly do we then factor in the liabilities, or what expenses can be put in the liabilities?
An expense is never a liability. A liability is money that you owe. So a loan from the bank would be a liability. If you go to a store like, let's say, Edgar's has clothing accounts, and you buy clothes on account, that would be buying it on credit because you're going to pay that account later. So that would be a liability.
So all debts incurred falls under liabilities.
Yeah. All forms of money that you borrowed somewhere that you're going to pay at a later date will be classified as a liability. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to take one more hand, and then we're going to move on to our next transaction first, please, because otherwise we're not going to finish tonight. Okay. Your name I don't know how to pronounce at all. Mzukiseni. Can you please unmute yourself and ask your question? And I'm really sorry if I butchered your name now. Okay, your hand went down. Then I'm going to take in Mnguni.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Ma'am, so there's this gentleman that just asked, how is bank and assets? So I tried to understand it. So please clarify if I understood it correctly. So we know an asset, for example, could be land, and you can do anything that you want on land. You can build, you can put your livestock, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I take that bank is an asset because your money stays there. So you can control whatever happens in the bank. So withdrawals, deposits, if you want to pay like EFTs, for example. So that's how bank is an asset. I don't know if I understood it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Is it correct?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I just wanted to help the gentleman that asked. I hope he gets clarity on that.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Let's move on to our next transaction. Number 4, a debit order of 1,200 Rand for insurance appears on the bank statement. Okay, so let me just quickly find my bills again. Okay, insurance is there. So what is insurance? Will it be classified as an asset, equity, or liabilities? Okay, yes. 59% insurance will be equity, because insurance, once again, it's an expense that we're paying. It's something that forms part of our day-to-day operations. So insurance is an expense. So it will fall under our equity. So let's see, how did we pay for this? We said that it's a debit order on our bank statement. So it means that we paid the money from our bank account. It was financed through cash. We actually paid it. So bank will be classified as? Let's see if we can get a few more responses, because this is one that everybody should know by now. We've got a favorable bank balance. That means that bank is an asset. So 92% of the class, well done. Bank is an asset. Okay, so my next poll, let's see. Assets will increase, decrease, increase and decrease, or not be affected. Okay, I'm happy with what I'm seeing. We paid money out of our bank account, which means the money is flowing out of our bank account. So if you pay something, do the money in your bank account increase or decrease? 78% says it decreases. I agree with you. Every time I go out and I pay for something, the money in my bank account disappears. I wish it was the other way around. The 16% of the class that said the money in your bank account increases when you pay an expense. Will you please share your secret with the rest of us so that our bank accounts can also increase with paying expenses? We would love that. I'm pretty sure that 80% of the class who said theirs are also decreasing would also like to know your secret. But at the moment, my bank account is decreasing when I pay an expense. So assets decreases when you pay something. The money in your bank account becomes less, not more. Okay, so sorry. Now let's see our next one. What will happen to our equity? Will our equity increase, decrease, increase and decrease, or not be affected? So we paid insurance. A debit order of 1,000 Rand appeared on our bank statement. So we paid insurance, and we said insurance is an expense. What does expenses do to our equity? Yes, 86% says it decreases. So let's put a decrease under our equity because we paid an expense. And we have our bank under assets. We have our equity, which is the expense, but we have no account that affects our liabilities. So once again, we can put a 0 in our liability column. And then we are done with question 4. Okay, so Zuki Seni, do you want to ask me a question? Then you can unmute and ask.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry for previously. I just accidentally pressed the wrong button.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to take you back to where you said the fee income increase is an equity, the money that comes in. I didn't get that one.
Okay.
But if you can explain that one for me, because the other question that I had was the bank, but you covered it because the other colleague did ask about it. So I'm covered on that one.
So as a lawyer, if you go to a client and you deliver services to them, what will you earn from that client?
I can say they will pay you money.
Yeah, but what would you call what you receive, the income from your service? They will pay for that with money, but you need to name what you've done. You delivered services, you rendered services. So you're being paid for the services.
Yes.
So that services will be the fee income that you received for the services you delivered. The method that they will pay you for the fees that you invoice them for would then be going to your bank account. So the cash you receive will go to assets. That will increase your bank account.
Okay.
But the reason why you received the cash is because you rendered services and you invoiced them for fees for the time you spend to deliver that service.
Okay, so am I correct when I say if it says fee income increases? Am I correct when I say fee income increases? Will it be an equity or an asset?
Your fee income will be equity, but the cash they pay for the service, that cash that goes into your bank account, that's the asset.
Okay, thank you very much. I wanted to get a difference between the two because I didn't get it before when you were presenting it. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay, happy.
All right, thank you. Yes, thank you.
Okay, Buffet Malani.
Yes, it's me again. Perhaps
Yes.
my last question for the day. Let's say I want to start a business and like borrow money from the bank, like perhaps 1,000 rand. Does that money become equity, which eventually becomes a liability that I need to pay off? Like if we're to classify it in that table, where will that be?
The loan you get will be a liability, but let's say it's a personal kind of loan or a business loan. Then the bank will indicate, say, 100,000 rand as that you owe them that money in your loan account, but they will transfer it to your business bank account. So you will have the cash in the bank account, and you will have a second account, which will be a loan account that you will have to repay. So on this table, we will have 100,000 rand in bank because they gave you the money, and you will have 100,000 rand in your liabilities because you borrowed the money from the bank. If, on the other hand, you borrowed the money to purchase a vehicle, then it would have been vehicles and liabilities. But wherever you put it on that table, the loan will always go into liabilities, and the other side will depend on how the rest of the transaction happens, whether you finance something like a property or a vehicle, or whether they gave you the cash to do with as you please in the business, or whatever the reason may be. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Matwan, yeah. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. Can you help me pronounce it correctly,
but
please?
you pronounced it right.
Okay.
It's
yes.
Matwani.
Matwani, okay.
All right. I'm beginning to get the groove of things. At first, I was a bit confused, but now I'm seeing the direction. But what I'm still struggling with is how do I identify which account is debited and which one is being credited?
Okay, for that, I'm going to tell you, go to your study material and learn Learning Unit 2, because there's a formula. And that formula was in the video that we shared as well. We said assets increase on the debit side and it decreases on the credit side. So how do you decide? Your bank account, say for example now with transaction 4, we paid money out of the bank account. We established the bank account is an asset. Because we paid money out of the bank account is decreasing. And the rule says assets increase on the debit side, decrease on the credit side. So if our bank account decreases and assets decrease on the credit side, it means that transaction will be credited in our bank account. Now, on the other side, insurance, we said falls under equity. Equity decreases on the debit side and increases on the credit side. Yes. So we said insurance decrease equity. So if equity decreases on the debit side, it means yes, insurance will be debited. So basically, just go and learn the rules for assets, equity, and liabilities, and then you determine whether it increase or decrease, like we've been doing tonight, and you will know what to debit and credit. Does that make sense, or did I lose you?
Oh, okay.
Does it make sense?
It does make sense.
Okay, so you are happy.
Yes, I am happy. I will also go back to the study guide and fortify what you just said. Yeah, but I understood.
Okay, I'm glad that you understood. Okay, Moses, you can unmute and ask your question.
Yes, no, thank you. I'm a little bit confused about the insurance part, right? So when you said insurance decreases equity, so but in terms of insurance, is there no some form of guarantee that with what you are spending, should something happen, then you will still be covered for the eventuality then? So if you pay, if I buy a 1 million car and I pay 1,200 for that insurance, and there's an accident tomorrow, so there will be, the insurance will pay the remaining amount, but I would have paid just 1,200. So maybe I'm not sure if my thinking is correct or what, but I'm just confused about it.
No,
decreasing.
It's an expense that you're paying. You're paying 1,200 Rand to get that cover for in case something is going to happen. But in accounting, we are working with surety and with the odds of something happening. You need to be 100% sure that something is going to happen before you physically record the money in your books. Up to that point, I'm not going to record 1 million Rand insurance cover in the books if I know that the odds of you getting into an accident is maybe 0.1%. And even if you get into the accident, your cover might be 1 million Rand, but the insurance might come back and say, sorry, you were negligent, therefore we are not going to pay. You did not adhere to your side of the contract. Or on the other side, you might have just had a small accident and they only need to pay out 2,000 Rand. So how am I going to determine what you now want to record here? I can't. So we are recording the expense and saying, yes, we do have this contract, but we are not recording the money of something that might happen. We can only record the 1,200 Rand insurance to say, yes, we are covered for this month. But now I'm paying it for March, 1,200 Rand for March, but for April, I forget to pay. Will I then be covered for April? No, I won't. So the 1,200 Rand is an expense for the period that you pay it for. It's not going to be something that you can get economic benefits from after this month. For next month, you will have to pay the expense again. I hope that makes sense.
I'm aligned. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Sianda, you can unmute and ask your question.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
My question is regarding the liability parts because I heard the fact that if I take a loan, the liability increases, but when you pay the loan, it decreases. So I want to understand the difference between the two. Isn't it supposed to be the other way around?
Okay. If I owe you 10,000 Rand and I pay back 1,000 Rand, how much do I owe you?
If you owe me 1,000 Rand,
If I owe you 10,000 Rand and I pay you 1,000 Rand, how much do I owe?
9,000.
Okay, so with my payment, did my liability to you increase or decrease? It went from 10,000 to 9,000.
It decreased, yeah.
Okay, does it make sense to you now?
Okay. I'm
Happy?
catching that. I'm catching that.
Happy?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next hand. A12. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Good evening, by the way. Ma'am, I have a question with regards to the 1,000 Rand loan that you answered. Yes. So let's say I've got an exam question comes up and it says so and so borrowed 50,000 Rand from Standard Bank to start her business, right? So the accounts that I'll put in is because she borrowed it, it's going to be a liability. And I'm thinking because she used the money to start her business, does that fall under capital contribution, under owner's equity?
No. What did she do with the money?
She used it to start the business.
Yeah, but what did she pay with it? How did she start the business?
By borrowing it from the bank. So do I put it under bank?
Yeah. What happened to the 50,000 Rand?
Ma'am, it's just the statement says that like so and so borrowed money from the bank to start the business, like the first sentence of the exam question.
I won't ask you an exam question with a statement like that because I would like to know what did you do with the money. It doesn't go to capital because borrowing money is a loan. It's not capital.
Yes.
Unless the owner herself obtained a personal loan way outside of the business, then the loan doesn't affect anything. Then it would, if the owner borrowed the money in her own name away from the business and then gave 50,000 Rand to the business, then how did she give the money to the business? That she paid into the bank account. So if she went to the bank and obtained a loan to finance starting her business, and the loan was obtained in the name of the business, then the loan would be a liability for the business. But then what did the bank do with the 50,000 that she borrowed? Did they pay it into a bank account?
They paid it into the business bank account.
Then you will have debit your bank because there's cash, and you will credit your loan because your liability increased. So it will be bank and loan, not capital. Capital is only if the owner gives something of him or herself to the business. There's no third party involvement.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay, last hand that's up. Sipiena Ngan. Nganasi, you can ask.
Evening, ma'am.
Good evening, but please just tell me how should I pronounce your name first, please?
It's Sipayena.
Okay, Sipayena. Okay, yes.
Yes. Ma'am, just a quick question. Can an expense that's in arrears become a liability?
Yes, it is definitely a liability, but you will have your expense account and you will indicate accrued expenses. That will be the liability. Or like with the stationery that we purchased on credit, then it would be stationery and other payables. Or at year end, if you accrued the expense because you already made use of whatever the expense is, but haven't paid it yet, then it would be expense and accrued expense.
Oh, so basically an expense in arrears becomes accrued expense.
At year end. But up to that point, before year end, it's other payables.
Okay, all right, sure. Thanks.
Okay, now I'm first going to continue with our question, please. Transaction 5. We received 2,500 Rand from Mrs. Mkhize in settlement of her account. So, Mrs. Mkhize is a debtor. Whenever a debtor is affected in a business, we use the account trade receivables control to write up all the transactions for all our debtors, but we also keep separate record for the individuals on the side. So our account that gets affected here, because Mrs. Mkhize is settling her account with us, is trade receivables control. So what will trade receivables control be classified as? Okay, I'm super proud of you guys. Definitely, trade receivables control is an asset. Well done. Okay. Now, she paid us money, so she actually gave us the cash. So, bank, where we put all our cash, will also be affected. What is our bank account classified as? Wow, guys, 97%, almost 100% for the class tonight. Great stuff. So let's do the next one. Okay, but now keep in mind, we have trade receivables control, and we said it's an asset. We have bank, which we said is an asset. So if I now ask you the question, assets will increase with, decrease with, increase and decrease with, or not be affected. What do you say? So think carefully about it. Our debtor comes and settles her debt. So her account will decrease because she no longer owes us the money. The money she owed us was paid into our bank account. Our bank account will increase. So trade receivables control will decrease. And our bank account will increase. So our assets will... Anybody want to change their answer? Those who are saying increase is partially correct, and those who say decrease is partially correct. Those who are saying increase and decrease with 2,500 Rand you guys are correct. Because our trade receivables control account decreases. That's an asset decreasing. And our bank account is increasing with the cash received. Okay, so for those of you who are saying why both, because trade receivables control is an asset. Our debtor no longer owes us the money. Her account is reduced. It decreases. She no longer owes us the money. So the 2,500 Rand trade receivables control that she owed us is gone. That's zero now. So it decreased. But she deposited that money into our bank account. So our bank account increased with 2,500 Rand. But now we need to put the net effect into our table. So we have a plus 2,500 Rand on our bank account, and we have a minus 2,500 Rand on our trade receivables control account. Therefore, it will be zero in assets. So the net effect is zero. Okay. Okay. I only have one hand. Do you want to ask a question on this? Okay. So I'm going to take it as a legacy hand. Okay. Lwazi, you can ask your question.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, please explain how the assets will increase and decrease at the same time.
Okay. Okay, trade
Please.
receivables control. What is that? It's an asset.
It's an asset, yes.
Yeah. It's the debtor that owed us money. So because she paid us the money, does her account increase or decrease the amount of money that she owes us?
Decreases.
Okay. She deposited the money into our bank account. Does our bank account increase or decrease?
Increase.
Okay, so our bank account increased and our trade receivables control decreased. And both of them are assets.
Oh. Also, our asset decreased because we were offering her a service.
No,
Like
because
it was the trade.
Somewhere in the past, we invoiced her for services, but she did not pay us.
Oh, okay.
So she owed us the money. Now she came to settle the debt.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, Benny, you can unmute yourself and ask. Okay, I'm not going to ask, then I'm going to move on. And then I'm not going to take more questions until we're done with this assessment. It's getting late, and for those who want to then leave, they can leave. So let's quickly finish. So I'll take all the questions afterwards now and not in between anymore. Okay, equity for this transaction, will it increase or decrease? Or not be affected? Okay, we said assets increase, we said assets decrease, therefore equity will not be affected. And for the same reason, we won't have anything in our liabilities. So zeros all through. Now, number 6, the owner paid in balances telephone account of 1,250 Rand with an electronic funds transfer from his personal bank account. Okay, so this is an example of the owner giving something to the business by paying one of their expenses. Okay, so I'm going to give you another poll. When the owner makes a contribution to the business it affects capital. So this owner paid something on behalf of the business. So capital will be classified as assets, equity, or liabilities. Okay, 70% says equity. You are correct. Capital, it forms part of our equity. Capital is part of what, or equity is what the business is worth to the owner. That's what the owner should get if they sell the business. It's the worth of the business. So if the owner provides capital to the business, it will increase your equity. Okay, so now next one is a little bit more tricky to identify this account, because although the owner paid it from his personal bank account, we're not going to use bank account because the bank account is in the owner's books. So what did the owner pay for this business? So what did he use this capital contribution for? So next poll, the owner paid the telephone account. So what will the telephone expense be? Assets, equity, or liabilities? Yes, 64% equity. An expense goes under equity. So our telephone will go under equity. Okay. Next one. Assets will increase, decrease, not be affected with this transaction. So just carefully think about what we had. We had capital, which is equity. We had the telephone expense, which is equity. So does anything in here affect our assets? Answer to that is no. Our assets are not affected. So we will put a 0 under assets. I know I'm running through this a little bit quickly now, but I'll take all your answers afterwards. Okay, so equity. Increase, decrease, increase and decrease, not be affected. Okay. 17%, now 20% says increase, 33% says decrease, 34% says increase and decrease, and 13% says not be affected. Okay, not be affected, you are 100% incorrect, because our capital and our telephone both affects our equity. Those of you who said increase, you are partially correct. It increased with the capital contribution. So yes, you are partially correct. Those of you who said decreased, you are also partially correct, because our telephone expense decreased our equity. Those of you who said increase and decrease, yes, that's 100% correct, because capital increased it and telephone expense decreased it. So we will have a plus 1,250 and a minus 1,250, which means the net effect is then 0. So let's do the next one. Liabilities. Will this transaction affect liabilities at all? Okay, 90, 1% of the clause, you are 100% correct. Both our accounts affected equity, therefore nothing will affect our liabilities. Okay. So let's go to our final entry. An entry for interest received appears on the bank statement of imbalance. So when we receive interest, does it fall under assets, equity, or liabilities? Okay. Interest is income that you interest received is income that you earn on a positive bank balance. Interest paid is something that you pay because you obtained a loan, so you will pay interest on the loan, or on account if you bought something on account from a store, or if you have a bank overdraft. But interest received is income. The interest was paid into your bank account with cash. That cash that was deposited in your bank account, that's an asset. But income received is income, or interest received is income. So that falls under equity. Okay. So let's do the next one. I hope I can get 100% tonight. Bank will be classified as. This one you should know now. Okay, bank account, our bank account with a favorable bank balance. We have said that from the start of this evening. Bank account with a favorable bank balance is an asset. Okay, so always if your bank account has a favorable bank balance, the bank account is an asset. Whatever you do with the money, that's something else. So in this case, what happened with the money? It was interest that was paid into our bank account. But the money that was paid into the bank account, that cash, that's an asset. The interest is the income. Okay, so 96%, definitely, our bank account is an asset. Now, next one. Assets will increase, increase and decrease, or not be affected. So we have our bank account as an asset. So what happens with assets if we deposit money into the bank account? 96%, now 98% of the clause says that my bank account increased. I agree with you. I'm going to put 273 Rand in my assets column. Now, second last poll for tonight. Equity will increase, decrease, increase and decrease, not be affected. Let's see what you guys are saying. Interest received is an income. What does income do with our equity? It increases our equity. So 78% of the clause, 100% correct. Okay. Our equity increases. Now, we have assets that increased. We had our income increase equity. So what happens with liabilities for this transaction? Let's see what you guys are saying. 2% says it increased. 9% says liabilities decreased. 1% says increase and decrease. But 87% says doesn't affect it at all. I agree with 87% of the class. We're going with the majority and we are going to say 0. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to say next page, which it doesn't want to allow. So I'm thrown out of the question, sorry. It doesn't want to accept my answers tonight. So I'm sorry, we can't grade this one. Let's quickly see if we can find that question on your module site again. But then I'm going to cheat answer it. Because I want to show you what happens when you grade it. But I'm going to do it this way. Just going to stop sharing for a bit. Let me just quickly find it. Okay, let me just quickly share it with you again. Okay, so here we've got the question that we completed. And if we now click on submit and finish, you will see everything is marked correctly. So well done, class. Majority got the question correct tonight. So if you answer a question like this in an assignment or as a practice quiz, it will give you a green tick if you are correct. It will give you a red cross if you're incorrect. But if you then take your mouse and hover with your mouse cursor over the red cross or the green tick, you will see that it tells us the answer is correct, or the correct answer is, and the mark for that you obtained. Now, if you count all of these, the marks will not necessarily add up to what you see there. The system adjusts this automatically to whatever we put in there to grade it. But because we cannot allocate half a marks or something like that within a question, we sometimes have to multiply within the formulas to say that it's counting 1 mark, but in actual fact, we want it to count half a mark. So if you want to know what you got for a question, you need to look at the mark that you got at the top. But yeah, so that is that from my side tonight. Those of you who are happy with the class, Annelien, can you maybe just copy and paste that form of Antoinette into the chat again for the students to complete the feedback one? If you don't have it, just tell me, then I'll quickly find the link to paste. But I think there's been enough chats in between that link is long gone upstairs and nobody will find it anymore. Okay, but then I'm going to take the last questions from here. But those of you who would love to go and sleep, you are more than welcome to leave us. But please just complete this student evaluation form and tell me what you thought of this class and if there's anything that you would like changed or improved on or would like us to do better. Last semester, students said they didn't want to do the bank overdraft question in class because it was too complicated. They would like to start with a favorable bank balance. So you can see tonight we did listen to last semester students and we did start with the question on the favorable bank balance for you guys, but there is a practice question on your module site where you can practice exactly this, but with a bank overdraft. And if there's something on that you don't understand, you're more than welcome to email the module at FAC1503@unisa.ac.za. Okay, so Musikiseni, you can unmute and ask your question.
Oh, no, I just wanted to find out, ma'am, are you going to continue with us?
No, I'm sorry.
Was
I'm
it
not
only
a
for
lecturer.
today?
I'm not a lecturer on the module.
Oh, no.
But I will present one more class on your module, but you will enjoy your other lectures as well. They are also experienced, and I know from experience and the students' feedback that you will definitely enjoy your other lectures as well. Okay.
Thank you.
But you will hear from me here and there again. I think my next one that I'll be presenting is the feedback on your assignment 1. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay. Sianda, you can unmute yourself and ask.
Ma'am, can I ask a question regarding the answers that you just looked at right now for, I think, question 5 and question 6, because assets increased and they also decreased, but you wrote like 0, like for everything.
Okay.
So get
Yeah.
clarity on that.
Okay. Remember, let me quickly share it, then I'll show you why. Okay. So here in our instructions, number 7, we said, if a transaction increase and decreases an element, then please show the net effect. So for transaction 5, that the assets increased with the cash in the bank, and your trade receivables was also an asset, it decreased with the same amount. So if I show the net effect under assets, it means I take the 2,500 Rand minus the other 2,500 Rand, because the one was a plus and the other one was a minus. So if I put those together, the answer is 0.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay, happy.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so Leandri, you can unmute yourself and ask.
Hi, ma'am. How are you?
Fine, and you?
I'm good, thank you. I just want to ask, when we decrease, we obviously use a minus, but if we increase, are we allowed to use the plus sign, or will the system not?
Yeah, no, please just type a positive amount, just type it without a sign, please.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, next one. Noku Kanya. Can you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes.
I just wanted to just find out with regards to question, I think it's question 5 or 4. There was a part where you mentioned something about capital. I just misunderstood where that was classified, because the question does not have anywhere where it says capital. So I'm just trying to find an understanding how you determine that there is capital.
Okay. When an owner makes a contribution to the business, that's capital. So how I knew that it was capital was it said the owner paid an expense on behalf of the business. So the owner contributed cash from his own business or his own personal account by paying one of the expenses for the business on their behalf. So therefore, he made a capital contribution to the business by paying their expense.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome. Homotso?
Oh, thank you. I think my question is just about the calculator situation. Do we need a financial one, or normal calculator is fine?
You can use a normal calculator as long as it's non-programmable.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. Then if there's no more hands, because this was the last question, okay. Yes, you can unmute yourself and ask. Zizipo?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
I ma'am, we're going to miss you. Hi.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Good night, ma'am.
Good night. I will definitely pop in from time to time, so I won't be a stranger.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Thank you so much. Your classes are really, really, really great. I really love the poll thing that you did. I think that controls class, which is quite different from other lectures. So I just wanted to say thank you. I really enjoyed your class.
Thank you so much for the feedback. I appreciate it. Okay. Urangani, you wanted to ask something? You can unmute.
I wanted to ask number 6.
Mhm.
I wanted clarity on why you said the equity has no effect, assets has no effect, and liabilities has no effect.
We said that equity increased with the capital contribution and decreased with the telephone expense. So there was an increase of 1,250 Rand on equity, and there was a decrease. So the plus 1,250 increase less the decrease of 1,250 Rand gives us a net effect of 0.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Dawn, you can unmute yourself and ask.
Good evening, ma'am. How are you?
Fine, and you?
I'm fine. I just want to refer to question 5, ma'am, and ask a question. You said since question 5 is a settlement of an account, it becomes a trade receivable control account. Can there be a case where an account is not a trade receivable control account and both items fall under the same category? For example, you said the trade receivable is an asset, then the bank becomes an asset. Can there be a, okay.
Yeah, so if I, for example, buy a vehicle for cash, that vehicle will be an asset, and my bank is an asset. So my vehicles will increase, that will increase assets. And the cash that I paid from my bank account will decrease my bank, so it will decrease an asset. So there's also two asset accounts that affects the asset column in one transaction.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay. My friend that I've been asking a couple of questions tonight, Manganyani.
Yeah, actually, my team is Mangany is my surname, but in any case,
yes.
Let's say I I I receive a credit of 10,000 Rand from the bank, right? And I was to populate that table that we have there that has got assets, equity, and liabilities. I mean, obviously that 10,000 Rand I need to pay back. Will that mean that if I needed to populate that table, that 10,000 Rand was gonna go straight to liabilities, and
Yes.
then equity is gonna be 0 and asset is 0?
No, because what did you do with the 10,000 Rand that the bank gave you? Where did the money go?
Depends. Let's say I needed to buy some stationery with that to help my business, and some other money I mean, like, I withdraw the money for other stupid activities which is not related to business. Yeah.
It depends on what you did, because if you use the 10,000 Rand to pay stationery is an expense. So then it would be your liability 10,000 Rand, and it would be under equity your expense. So always ask yourself, what did you do with the loan? Where did the money that they gave you go? Was it deposited into a bank account? Did you pay for something? What did you pay? And that will answer what other account will be affected. But there's always two accounts that are affected.
Okay, so meaning if I bought stationery for 1,000 Rand, then under equity I was gonna have 1,000, and but then will the liability still remain as 10,000 still, since I still owe the bank 10,000? That's where my
No, it
confusion
will
is.
only be the 1,000 that you used for the stationery. My question to you would be, what did you do with the other 9,000 rand?
Perhaps I didn't use it. I needed 10, but only to realize that I just needed to use 1,000 rand.
Yeah, but then you don't owe the other 9,000 rand to the bank, because then it's still with the bank, because either they deposited 10,000 rand into your bank account and you need to repay the loan, or they told you you may borrow 10,000 rand from us and you only used 1,000, then you only owe them 1,000, then the liability is 1,000.
Okay, yeah, I think I've
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Timothy, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Great, thank you. My query is between question 3 and question 7. And I understood question 7 in that it led to an increase of assets and equity, but question 3 didn't go the way that I thought, in that it only led to an increase and decrease of equity. I can't remember. Can you explain that?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, transaction 3, we received a direct deposit for services we rendered. So our bank increased with 4,300 rand and our equity increased with 4,300 rand for the fee income. So that and 7 was exactly the same. Our assets increased and our equity increased.
Also, it went the same way. Okay.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Thank you. I thought I got a different thing. All right.
Okay. Tabu, you can unmute and ask your question. I can't hear you. Tabu, I can see that you're unmuted, but I can't hear you. Can I ask you to type your question in the chat, please, because I can't hear you. Mbali, you can ask your question.
Good evening, everyone. Ma'am, so I want to ask, under equity, so if a transaction is an increase, maybe let's say an income, will mean that the transaction increases the equity, but
yes,
the equity decreases the transaction. Is that correct?
Sorry, income increases it, expenses decreases it.
Okay, that was my question, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, that is that. There's no more hands. So, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I enjoyed tonight's class. I'm glad you enjoyed tonight's class as well. And I hope that this will help you to do extremely well in your assignment 1 that's coming up. So thank you so much. And then it's goodbye and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Good night.
Good night.